Hello everyone and welcome to another video with me, 320 Sim Pilot. I'm a real-world airline pilot, and in today's video I'm going to take you through all the new aeroplanes in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. There are a whole host of new aeroplanes, 45 new ones in fact, and in today's video this is the first part as we're going to take our first look through a whole series of those. So a bit of a whistle-stop tour as we take each one for a little bit of a fly, see what's unique about them, what's interesting, and what we think of each of ththese new aeroplanes. In today's video we're going to cover some really exciting ones, including the A400 you see here, military airplane, lots of airliners with the 73 MAX, the A330 Airbus aircraft, and also some interesting ones like a Airship and the firefighting CL415. That's the one from the cover of Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024, and plenty of others, so do stay tuned. We'll be completing the series with a couple more videos. It's a very short series, should only be 3 episodes, so do please subscribe if you'd like to see the rest. Let's get started in the video. I'll give you a bit of my real-world context on each airplane as and when I can, of course, and we'll take each for a little flight and look up something interesting about it. Okay, let's start off with the Aero Elvira Optica. This is an updated version of a previous aircraft. The Optica is a British design originally, the Edgeley Optica, and it's used for low speed observation, and to replace helicopters. So we're going to take it for a flight in London and see how it goes. You get 2 liveries, a basic white livery and this police livery we're going to use here. Okay, let's go. So this airplane, like I say, slow speed, so it shouldn't take much to get it into the air. It does have installed, and this is quite cool, an observation camera, this point view camera system. So I'm wondering how that's going to look like if we take it up at night. I don't know what the buttons do. Oh, I could hear a beeping. No aerobatic maneuvers, including spins, are approved. Maneuvering speed, so that's the maximum speed we can fly, 113 knots. That's the maximum speed whilst using full deflection on the controls. We've got all our switches on, our nav lights and strobe lights on, so I think we are ready to go. It does have some flaps, which I assume are going to give it a very short takeoff roll. It looks like they are deployed. And you can see, I believe it's a piston engine, and you can see the exhaust out the back there. It's interesting to see all the heat exhaust now on piston airplanes in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. Anyway, parking brake release. That's the handbrake, a proper handbrake. I like that. And we'll go throttle. We've already got the mixture up. Full power. Won't take much to get it going. I have to say, so far I'm impressed with the yaw in Microsoft Flight Simulator. I think it's better on the ground than it used to be. That's easily enough speed to rotate. Look at that climb angle, like a glider. Now I did turn off bits of airplanes. That could be a firefighting airplane there. I did turn off the real traffic, so I'm going to turn it on for the rest of this video. Also, this weather looks suspicious. This can't be London's live weather, can it? No, let's go for live weather. Let that load in. Now this is the XL Center, used for conventions. So this airplane could be used instead of a police helicopter for hanging around in an area, and yeah, generally having quite long flight times at low power. Flaps are up. Interesting, these vortices are there for creating flow over the ailerons, so even at low speed you get good ailerons. Now I'm expecting this to be able to come back down to 58 knots and then hang around nice and slow, so if you're watching a police chase or observing something that needed it in particular, you could use it. Let's have a look. What have we got over here? Oh, there we go. Right, now I don't know what you can do with this. Different modes. That's cool. So different thermal modes, and then a sort of color mode. Infrared, EO. I don't know what that is, but there we go. It's cool to see these things arrive in default airplanes. So if we just level out a bit now, bring the power back. I've got more cars running in this sim than I did in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. It's cool though. This is quite a fun airplane. It's got a bit more to it than I expected. Looks very, very unique. There's me and my co-pilot cruising around. That's quite a fancy haircut I've got on my my pilot there. Gone for the skin fade. Right. Let's see if we can get it back to its min speed then, 58 knots. Powering back, trimming up. Back to idle. Let's get it right back. I don't think we have an RPM, no, just a mixture. Pretty straightforward airplane this to fly around. Quite a good airplane for exploring the new sceneries, that's for sure. Interesting as well how you can see that these sort of dome glasses give these funny sort of reflections, which I imagine the real ones would as well. So I'm quite impressed at how they've managed that. Right, we're going to get the speed right back because that gives my internet a chance to actually load in the ground beneath us. 70 knots, sorry, is the speed it should be able to happily sit at. So there's 65. I'm just going to see if I can keep it level at 65 without too much effort. And there's 70. Let's hold it there. Yeah, look at that. No trouble. Easy. 70 knots, easy. Powering back a bit. It's in trim. Yeah. So there you go. A handy airplane for cruising around, soaking in the sights, doing some police observation work over central London. There we go. Oh, is that the that's Tower of London, I think. We're cruising over here. There's Tower Bridge. Fantastic. This is a very good view of London. There's the Shards. That's London Bridge Station. Tower Bridge, often confused with London Bridge. Famously. It is a shame the way it pops in as we go, but this level of detail, I don't know what else to say. We're running at ultra settings, remember here, ultra settings. So this is as good as I'm going to get the game to look for a while at least. Yeah, a nice aeroplane. Brooklands Aerospace. Let's try and bring it back for a stall. Power back. Nose up. There's a stall warner. Feels good. Yeah, look at that. Aileron control lost, and that's it. Nose down into a spin. Roll to the horizon and pull up. There you go. Nasty. So you don't want to stall this thing. Those big straight wings, that doesn't surprise me. You do not want to stall it when you're flying around doing this observation work. So this is going to be quite an interesting airplane. Going to take some serious concentration if you're going to do some observation work in it, that's for sure. Now here we have the air tractor used for agricultural spraying. There you go, it says it right there. Let's configure it. Do we get any other liveries of this one? This is an interesting airplane. I'm looking forward to using it. Oh, look at this awful loading, but there is a firefighter mode. We'll go for the agricultural sprayer. We've got some other firefighting airplanes coming up later, and let's take it for a flight. So here we go. We are in the air tractor now. Let's have a look around the outside. This is a nicely detailed airplane. They've done a good job with it. Here's all that equipment for spraying, so they're not messing around. This is a seriously detailed extra structure. It's not just sort of fitted somehow in the back of the airplane. They put all the detail. I mean, absolutely, look at it. Amazing piece of modelling of quite a unique bit of equipment that I've never seen before. So this is really quite cool. This is the turbine variant, the AT802. As you can see, a turboprop engine in the front, and this is going to be used for spraying crops. There is a military version they made of this as well, with bulletproof glass, self-sealing fuel tanks, things like that, and a firefighting variant, which is included in 2024, but we're going to look at some other firefighting aircraft later. So I want to try out some crop spraying. So let's jump into the cockpit. Now there are some checklists included. The EFB is here, which is really cool. I like that we get an EFB that changes through per aeroplane, but it's actually the same EFB, so you can use it, because it's a little bit frustrating with so many add-ons having their own. So I quite like that you have the checklist built in here. This is a much better system than the old. I loved the old checklist system, but this is great. You can just find it in here and go through what you need to do, even the whole walk around, because remember, you can actually step out of these airplanes and do a walk around. We won't do that while the engine's running. That's for another video. Let's release the parking brake. Get some power on. Cruise the throttle. I love the mesh seat for all the gunk to wash off you from where you've been filling up the fuel tanks and the fertilizer tanks. There's power. Now this is quite a hard airplane to see out the front of. I don't think the spacebar works like it used to. So let's see if we can keep it on the runway. That might not be so easy to do. Bit more power, bit more power, bit more power. See it veering left and right. I'm not going to try and hold the tail down because I think it'll be too grippy. It is a bit grippy, this add-on. It's really swinging with the torque. So it's actually quite a challenge to get it into the air. There we go. Just about off the ground safely. Bit more power needed. No, that's a bit too much. Bring the power back. Climbing away now. Yeah, that's quite a handful. This is not an easy airplane to fly. It's not a Cessna 172. It is a working airplane. Make no mistake. Oof, getting really battered by turbulence here. Going to need to give it some power. I don't know what turbulence we're experiencing. This is live weather. That's pretty horrendous. Now here's some fields. Let's see if we can do some crop dusting. I don't know why. That is the worst turbulence I've ever seen in the simulator. So let's just calm that down just a little bit. Right, look at that. You can see the marks on the window. Love it. And you can see the exhaust from that turbine engine. Let's pick a field. We wouldn't be very good crop dusters because I haven't even bothered to find out which field we're supposed to be working on. But let's give it a go. I found the key for spraying, even if I haven't found the actual controls in the flight deck. This is a heavy airplane. You've got to be really careful as you get into these low speed range. There we go. Over a field. This will do. There it is. Oh, look. That's cool. I love it. And off. So you can see the wingtip vortices there. That's a feature of producing lift. So these airplanes, all airplanes' wings, as they fly through the air, they create those swirls, which is what gives you wake turbulence. Let's do this. This field here is a nice one right in front of us. Bring the power right back. But yeah, you've got to be careful. There is a dump button. You can dump it all out. But when it's full of liquid and fuel, there we go. This is quite a heavy machine. Yep, don't fly through the trees. Awesome. And if you're bored of that and you just want to go back and land and the airplane's a bit too heavy, dump, and away it all goes. And then suddenly, the airplane climbs away. So if you're in an emergency, you're trying to put out, or you've run out of energy, you can just dump it out. I really like it. They've done a good job with this one. Feels unique, feels interesting, and yeah, you can have some good fun with that. I'm looking forward to trying it out in some missions. Very cool. Now we've seen the A320neo V2 from AnyBuilds, so let's have the A321 from AnyBuilds. Let's see a few minor differences to be had in the 321, but let's go to configure. Awful system this. I'll complain about it every time I have to use it until it works better. And let's see what liveries they've included. We have some real liveries here actually. So you can have the Airbus House livery, and a Retro Air New Zealand, this is KLM. There's some classic old airlines including Orbit Airlines, there's Wizz Air and World Travel. I do like the World Travel one, although my favourite on FSX was probably Orbit, so I think we'll go Orbit. And then let's jump in. So here we have the A321 long range. This is of course a Neo variant. I believe we have here the Leap, CFM Leap Neo. This aircraft is designed to have a longer range than the Boeing 757, so this is Airbus finally making the claim, finally using the A321 for what it sort of does represent the next generation of 757, as Boeing didn't seem to go there as quickly as needed. So we ended up with this. It has 3 extra fuel tanks and an increased maximum takeoff weight. Of course, there's no point just adding fuel to these airliners. It doesn't work. You have to have an extra weight as well, otherwise you can't carry the passengers. So they've increased the weight. You do that with clever things and certification and tire pressures and all sorts. And then they've also added the extra fuel tank so it can go the extra distance. So let's take it for a flight. Made by AnyBuilds, this one, AnyBuilds. So again, another good third-party aircraft. First thing I'm noticing in these AnyBuilds aircraft is they all have the AnyBuilds style EFB. So although it's nice, I do actually like that we get a built-in EFB. And this does have the checklist for all the aircraft, including the Airbus. So you can see here, after start checklist, before takeoff checklists, it is all here. And then you also have the EFB from AnyBuilds. So like I say, it's a bit frustrating having too many tablets, but I think having a standardized tablet here from Microsoft is great, and the AnyBuilds one is really clear. Basically, you go to takeoff, and what's clever is if you load on the runway, you load in the airplane, it will load up with the engines running and the everything almost configured. The box won't have a route. So all I did was went to the init page, put in a quick route, then the fuel prediction page automatically had the weights in, went to the perf page, then go to my tablet, go to takeoff, and then sync. It synchronizes the runway you're on and the weather, and it synchronizes the weight I'm at with 52.4 tons. That's very light, actually. This airplane can take off up to quite an impressive weight of in the 90, I think over 90 tons. So it's surprising how heavy this can go. For context, though, the 787, which I currently fly, can take off at 250-ish tons, and that's for the sort of the middle-sized one. So yeah, it always interests me how airplanes the weights don't scale. But there we go. Let's get it up and running. I'm not quite sure what's happening to the performance. It's definitely struggling suddenly, and I don't know why. Okay, so light takeoff, brakes released. Now I don't know why it's done that. There we go. Spooled up a bit. I've also lost the interior sounds. having lost them originally outside and then gained them again. And then I'm going to, no, it's gone to the full detent. I don't want that. I wanted it in the Flex MCT. There we go, Manflex 63 SRS. I don't know where the sounds have gone. Now, how's the rudder? Nice and gentle on the nose wheel steering. So it's usable. I believe it'll be usable in the crosswind as well. 300 knots, stick to neutral. V1, a bit difficult to control there, and rotate. And we'll rotate up. Positive rate. Gear coming up. Again, no idea where the sounds have gone. They seem to have vanished at some point. Probably still downloading, even though, like I say, did have them when I loaded in. Yep. No sounds outside either. This is the new way it's going to be, isn't it? Unless all of this can work perfectly, this is what we're going to end up with. At least we have textures in the cockpit. Anyway, there's a climb gate, thrust climb, lower the nose. So yeah, as you'd expect from any builds, this works like an Airbus. Autopilot goes in, it flies properly. Oh, we can put the TCAS on. None of these videos are tutorials. What is interesting is they've fitted this out with really fancy stuff. We've got the newest weather radar there, where you can even choose the flight level it looks at. And we have the new transponder as well, which I have not used this in the real world. This is so new. It's newer than I'm ready for. So I don't actually know where you'd get through to the TCAS menu. ATC, TCAS mode is on TAR, it says. Don't know why it says standby then. I don't know how to change that. ATC modes is in auto. Yep. Out reporting. We put that on maybe. There you go. That seems to have fixed it. Anyway, bring the flaps up as we're accelerating. Very quietly. And yeah, nice. So aside from the sounds, which I'm sure will work eventually if your simulator decides to behave on that particular day, this is a nice machine. If we jump back in, we can disconnect the autopilot. I'll leave it on QNH actually. Let's not go too high. Let's descend it down a bit. So take out the autopilot, turn off the flight directors. Yeah, no warnings at all. Take out the auto throttle. And give it a bit of a flight. Getting some rough turbulence here as well. Really impressive having no sounds. Quite eerie. Oh, I'm starting to hear some. No, they've gone again. So, does it limit us? Can we overbank, or will the fly-by-wire system or the normal law protection stop us? No, they stop us. That is good to see. Likewise, can I pull up too aggressively? No. And it even does the G-load. This is a detailed Airbus. 30 degrees pitch, there it goes, it stops. Now I'm going to hold it up here. I'm going to bring the throttles to idle. And let's just see if the airplane stops us from stalling. It should lower the nose for us. This is quite an extreme entry into a low speed. There it goes. Look at that. It's already dropped the nose a bit, and it should hit alpha prot here and then throw the nose down to save us. There it goes. Very nice. That is a nice simulation of it. A very nice simulation, because what it's doing now is it's holding the nose up high, and it's applied alpha toggle lock, so we've got the thrust on. So it's now going to hold the nose here, and it's going to keep that high angle of attack until I push the nose down out of alpha prot, which is accurate. Not all Airbus simulations get that right. So yeah, very good. Let's take a look at how much fuel we can actually fit onto this airplane as well. That's what I'm curious about. So to do that, let's get out of toggle lock. So we'll add some power, disconnect the auto throttle. There we go. We're back into manual thrust. Got the nose level. Airplane's flying straight and level. So I'm just going to go over here, go to payload. How much fuel will it let us load onto the airplane? 26.5 tons. Instant, please. Oh, we've even got the sunshade. Look at this. Amazing. There are some good details here. And that's it. 26.5 tons of fuel. 73 tons now, most fuel. 26.5. Yeah, amazing. So the forward tank, 22.5 tons. We've got our usual amount in our main tanks, about 18 tons, just over. And then we got another 5 tons in the aft auxiliary tanks. Out of curiosity, just while I'm diving down to begin this approach, this speed out star, 3,000 feet, I put on the weather radar. I want to see if it can draw us weather. Look at that. That should be a thunderstorm in front of us. I've loaded in the preset of a thunderstorm. Love the shadows now. They do look really nice. And yeah, with this fancy new weather radar, you can actually set it to different elevations. So if I go to elevation, that feature does not seem to work. Oh, no, I've got it on this side. That's why. Elevation. And then in the real airplane, you can choose what level you want to look at. Now, that doesn't seem to work. It would actually show you the flight level you're looking at. regardless, it does seem to be a weather radar here. How accurate this plays out to be, we'll see over time with the simulator. Let's get rid of that speed brake as we are now level. Oh, there's some lightning, the only noise that I've got working at the moment. So yeah, it does seem to paint something for us. Let's descend that down to 2,500. But I don't think what we're looking at here is a full-on simulation of the weather radar, or certainly this model, this ability to choose a level, because path weather as well would hash out weather beneath you and so on. We'll see how it goes as time goes on though. So I'll just leave it on all weather, safest option for now. But let's not land directly underneath a massive thunderstorm. Here we are on final approach. Look, I've got real traffic turned on, and there's a few too many airplanes, I think, on that runway. But we'll see how it goes. Right, autopilot off. There is now a shortcut, at least, for landing or turning off the throttles back to the idle position. So we'll see how I make that work. 50, 40, 30, into the flare, idle the throttles. See how it looks. There's touchdown. Speed brakes up. Can we get reversers out? There they go. Sadly, the runway did not load up in time. And we'll leave it there. A330 is next up, and this is quite a good one because if you go to configure, you get a whole load of options on this one. You have the 200, the 300, so the shorter and the longer variant, and then you have the Rolls-Royce and the GE engine. So depending which one you choose, let's go for a 300 Rolls-Royce. You can then go to your liveries and find out that there's no airlines that exist that had that aeroplane. So we'll go to the, let's go to a 300 GE. Did anyone buy that one? No, apparently not. Let's have a look at the 200 Rolls-Royce. There we go. Maybe that was more popular. No. Wow, I'm having good luck with this. Okay, and this menu is frustrating. I'm not a fan of it. And the fact that you just get a blank screen behind, absolutely ridiculous. There we go. Right, Qatar bought the 200 GE. And then you've got, finally... oh, here we go, a normal 300 Rolls-Royce. Let's go for this one. Brussels Airlines bought that, apparently. Okay, we'll go with Brussels. Let's go flying. So here we have the A330, also by Any Builds. Like I say, there's several variants of this, all with pretty similar flight decks. You can see that the A330 specific items have been done. So we got trim tanks transferred. This is a long haul system. It's a bit of a legacy system now. We don't see so much trim tanks. Modern airlines have slightly simpler fuel systems even. But yeah, the trim tank system works. It's moved the fuel out of the rear tail, and it is otherwise looks like a 330, slightly different landing gear configuration. Excuse the blurry textures, excuse the lack of sounds. You're used to this by now. This is Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 for you. This is what it's going to do. If you look outside, it's a nice visual model. Again, AWS know what they're doing. It's finally loaded in the engines. Still no sound. Notice as well there are contrails, which is nice to see, although that isn't airplane specific. But yeah, look at this. Even the streaks behind the nose gear. So there's nothing to complain about. This is again a detailed, usable, full-on airliner that we're getting provided out the box, just as ever. Yeah, there we go. Bandwidth too low. It does this at random intervals. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. The internet is perfectly usable here. I don't think this is I'm using an abnormal internet connection. I think it's pretty standard for people in Europe anyway. So yeah, disappointing that we're going to constantly run into this issue. But there we go. But we're looking at the airplanes here today, and aside from the sounds, which we can't hear at all, I know the textures can improve. I know they will eventually improve, and it does have nice textures. No surprise, for an Any Builds airplane, this is just another lovely add-on. Or sorry, it's not an add-on, a lovely default airplane. You can have great fun with this. You can fly around a proper Airbus. It's got the bank angle protections. It's got all the normal law stuff. You've got an EFB over here for your takeoff performance, and you can fly this long haul on VATSIM. Oh, and there we go. Out of the sim. That's the end of that. There is going to be a theme to these airliners. If it's made by Any Builds, you're going to find that they are good quality and totally flyable. You've got databases working. There are a few glitches here and there. If you really mess around, you can get the airplanes to get a bit upset. But overall, just absolutely lovely. Great visual models, great avionics, and totally usable in pretty much all circumstances for flying around. And I would argue probably some of the best, if not the best, default airliners we've ever had provided in a Microsoft Flight Simulator. More to come. Beluga XL time, and look at this. The first time I've actually seen the menu screen give me an airplane to look at. That's pretty impressive. So look at this. You get several liveries, including all of the XL numbers. I guess there's only 6 of them. So yeah, that's what you get. Pretty nice that they are included like that. I quite like that. So we'll take XL1 for a flight. What I'm going to do with this one, as it's so similar to the 330, let's load it up on the ramp and then have a go at have a look at the cargo. Here we are then. We are walking around the outside. I didn't realize this is what it would do when we load into the sim on the ramp. Got our Beluga H330 XL. Absolutely love it. It's so cool. Sadly, our engine covers haven't quite loaded on yet. I'm trying to get rid of them. With this toggle pins. I'm not entirely sure. Oh, you can click on them. There we go. Now we can see into our lovely engines. So, yeah, great exterior. No surprise. This flies. I have flown this already on the channel. It flies very much like the A330. It's well done. It's another Airbus aircraft. Any builds have demonstrated their ability to show us the Airbus life in Microsoft Flight Simulator, and these all look great in 2024. The question is, how do we get on board? Now, there is a ladder behind the flight deck, so I'm hoping if I click on it, yeah, look at that, we go into the flight deck. Now, no surprise, this hasn't loaded in either. This is a continuing problem, but what we can do is go to our cargo, and we can choose what we want. So let's open the cargo door. I don't know if it's going to do that without any power. I want to get those, have a look at the cargo inside. We do at least have sound this time. So let's load in the A350 wings. I think that could look quite interesting. They're big things to fit into this airplane. If we jump outside, you can see now that I've managed to open that cargo door. Pretty straightforward, actually. You can do it through the EFB. If you just go to your ground page, and then there you go, it's almost open. And here you can also turn on the bay lights. That's really cool. So if we set it to nighttime, I wonder, I've got electrical power to the airplane now. Let's just dim it down a bit. Look at that, little lights inside as well. Absolutely awesome. I love the Belugas in flight sims. I loved it in X Plane. Absolutely brilliant to finally see one in the new Microsoft Flight Simulator. By the way, you can see that glare effect. If you go from the dark, it does simulate your eyes sort of adjusting, and then the glare. I think that's quite a neat feature. That could really add some immersion in certain weather conditions, because that can be a problem. Cargo, load. And here we go. Now it's going to load in some 350 wings. How cool is that? Now, of course, they've got to be streamed, just like everything else. It can't just happen. We've got to wait for it all to happen. But yeah, they will load up and then load into that cockpit, into the cargo hold. Pretty cool feature. Like I say, we won't take this flying because we already have it flown on the channel. It's in my first video. And there we go. Loading is now complete, and off goes the loader. Really love this. Absolutely great little bit of detail. Good bit of fun to get to experience the full Beluga experience, or Beluga XL experience, I should say. Right, time to move on. Right, in the A400 flight deck, another really nice one. Again, any builds can do Airbuses. I've said it a lot already in this video. Don't worry, there's not too many more Airbuses to go, but this is pretty much like an A380, which we saw recently from Fly-by-Wire, the A380X. You get this big style screen MCDU. Quite straightforward to use. You click on what you want to do. You can't type in yet, it seems, so that doesn't work, but you can do it down here using the little keypad. So you just type it in as you would with most MCDUs, and then hit enter, and there you go, there's the information. So sorry, that isn't the flight number, that's where we're starting, but anyway, there we go. So you just get used to typing it in, which all works quite nicely. So you can do that. You also get the EFB over here, which will do things just as we've seen before, including allow you to run the doors, so we can open up the main cargo door, sort out the fuel and payload, so we can just add a bit of weight, bit of fuel, apply, there you go. And yeah, you can load up the airplane like this. Now, this style MCDU is really nice to use, actually. I'm a big fan of it. BIIS. Oh, go click on it first and then type it in. BIIS. There we go. And you can go to fuel and load, and you can see it has actually got some in there. So we can just stick in our reserves. Let's just put 5 in. Now, you do have to type first, so it is slightly different to what we've seen before. But yeah, anyway, there you go. And if we look outside now, we'll see that our little cargo door, I say little, our big cargo door is open. And again, we get a nice heat exhaust from those turbine engines, which does sort of obscure your view a bit. Let's see if the drone can help us out. Looks fantastic on the outside. Really cool to see a different style machine. And as you move around, it looks great from any angle. This was one of the ones I was most excited to try. So in a very short moment, we'll get it in the air. Look at those little stabilizer arms as well. Don't know why I keep saying little. It's not little. It's a big machine. But there we go. So let's jump in and get it in the air. Fun thing is they've animated it properly. So up go the door and then the support struts. Once you have it in the air, you'll find the A400 is another Airbus style aeroplane, as I've been saying. It's easy to fly, it will be familiar. Even if you're coming from the A320, you'll have no trouble getting used to that new style MCDU. Very similar idea of the information it needs. You basically need to put the weights in, the takeoff speeds and your route, just like many other airliners. This is a capable airplane you can take on routes around VATSIM, and you can fly it around the world where you want, but you can also have some fun with it. Take it into some shorter strips, do some reverse thrust operations, and take it onto some dirt and gravel, as we see in the Microsoft Flight Simulator trailers and intro videos. So really, really good fun. If I jump back into the flight deck and we don't let it fly into these hills, you'll see that as I maneuver the side stick around, it's simple, easy to respond, and is overall a nice machine. So I think you'll have some good fun with this, and in particular I'm going to do some more videos. This is one of those airplanes I was very excited for, so we'll do some more videos where we get to try out giving it some off-road operations and some slightly more extreme things. There's some amazing things at air shows, the A400M, so there we go. You're also covered by the classic Airbus protection, so if I let it get too slow, alpha floor, and it lowers the nose on you. So there you go. Next up, the Airbus H125 helicopter, used for rescue operations, cargo. As you can see, you can have passengers in it, use agricultural spraying. So I'm going to have it set up for the rescue, and let's choose the livery. So I'm hoping for like a nice red and white rescue livery, or maybe orange, or maybe we'll go for full-on red and yellow. That's pretty good. So let's take this for a flight in the Alps. Okay, this is cool. This is a bit more what we expected from Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. Here's the Airbus H125 in its rescue livery with the rescue winch at that side. I like these little details they've added, clearly focused on giving us more and more activities that you can do in aviation. And it's awesome to see this sort of snow spray effect, even though we are actually on some concrete here. But still, maybe some dust being blown up. Let's take it for a flight, get it over some actual snow and see how it looks. But this is a promising start. Could be finally time I get into helicopters. Now, I do have some of the assists on the helicopters because I know they are a little bit different to airplanes. So I'm going to see if I can manage this one just using the controls like I've got. See a little string out the front there to give you an idea of where the relative wind is, which is pretty cool. And away we go. Seems pretty straightforward so far, doesn't it? Yes, he agrees. He's impressed. He's got a GoPro on his helmet. Not sure that's a good idea. But there we go. And off we go, exploring the Alps, going for some rescue missions. I love that you can see the ski lifts and so on around. Look at that. Awesome. So let's see if we can go and get it into a hover over some snow and kick up some of that dust. This airplane, though, or this helicopter, I should say, feels nice. It's a little bit different. I need to figure out how to sort of trim and adjust. I really don't know how that works on these. So I've got a lot to learn about flying helicopters in Microsoft Flight Simulator. But there we go. Pretty powerful. We are certainly launching ourselves up into the mountains here with no difficulty, it would appear. As ever, it does look great. No complaints about the graphics. Let's head over here and do a bit of low level. Right, let's come into the hover. Throttle on, throttle back. This is particularly hard with an Xbox controller, I have to say. It's definitely being... it's not very stable. It does try and drift off. I have got, like I say, some of the helicopter assists on. But there we go. We are roughly getting it into a hover, probably only thanks to those assists. It does want to drift off to the left. I don't know if there's a bit of wind out there. And there we go. As we bring it down low, look at that. Awesome. Kicking up the spray. Love it. I think there could be some good fun to be had with these in the respective missions. Let's not fly into that. But yeah, I think the rescue missions and so on could be really quite an experience with these... oof, it does spin fast. With these helicopters and firefighting and so on and rescue missions. I think there's a lot to be had here. Let's get it down. Let's see if we can just do a little touchdown. Oh, there we go. Awesome. I mean, what a thing to experience. So yeah, H125, there it is. A new thing. I haven't really done much helicopter flying in these sims at all. I think there could be some good fun here. Here we are then in, can you guess what this is? This is rather fun. You can see it here on the EFP. This is the airship, the Airbus Airship 600. Yes, we're still on Airbuses, unbelievably. This is a airship that was, I believe, originally not an Airbus design, but that's where it ended up. It is used a lot of sightseeing and advertising, that sort of things. There aren't many in the world. It uses piston engines, I believe, so it's not electric, even though I thought it would be. But yeah, Skyship 600. The reason I'm flying it over the Palm in Dubai is that this is where they tried to do a publicity tour with one. It didn't get to do the whole journey. It wasn't allowed to fly through Egypt. But yeah, this was where it was headed as part of a big tour to stop over sites in Europe before arriving into the Palm as sort of a promotion. So here we go. We have made it to the Palm in our Skyship 600. I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing with it. It does use helium, I'm guessing, because I can see up here we have helium toggles. How anything works is a mystery to me. It has a determination to put the nose down, possibly something to do with the way the engines are tilted. I'm not entirely sure if they're helping or making things worse. So just take the power off a bit, and all you get a yoke. You do get a yoke. You pull back and you get sort of elevators up, which has just about saved us so far. You push forwards and then you've got left and right, but left and right doesn't actually bank, it just does the rudder left and right like that. So yeah, so that's as much as I'm managing here. There must be a way to tilt it up, but it's not something I'm managing. There's a whole load of helium temperature controls. It is a whole separate license, of course, to learn how to fly an airship, and it's not one I have. And yeah, this is going to take a bit more work before we understand what we're doing with this. What on earth are these telling us? Inches water. This must be... I mean, it's all about differences in pressure, isn't it? So yeah, there's a lot more going on here than I am equipped to give you on today's flight, I'm afraid. But still, surprisingly detailed and also surprisingly difficult to control. I thought it would just sort of sit in the air. However, it is not doing that. It is just sort of descending. I can probably get it to just about level out a little bit here. There we go. So yeah, there's another aircraft we've had a look at. They wouldn't be too impressed on that beach resort there. Very cool. Something different. Always nice to see. Next up here we have the Archer Midnight. Now this is going to be used for sort of urban travel when you can't be bothered to take the subway or a bus or a train, but you want to fly helipad to helipad. Quieter. I believe it's electric, so that's a pretty cool idea. And it's going to be able to fly around a city without causing so much disruption to the people who can't afford to fly around in one with you. So it's a bit quieter, using lots of sort of drone style engines, I suppose. It very much looks like not quite a quadcopter. How many engines have we got? 12 engines. Well, that's always reassuring. We like to have 12 engines. There's nothing wrong with that. So yeah, now this is a bit of a concept. You know, obviously we haven't seen these flying around. How on earth it's supposed to fly is another question. What I've done so far is just done Control E, because if you go to the EFB and try and power it up, it just pretty much says set power lift switch to enable for VTOL, vertical takeoff landing, and to disabled for conventional takeoff landing. So where's that? Okay, here we go. We want a VTOL because we're not going to be able to do a conventional takeoff here. So enable power lift, which is what we wanted. Okay. Aircraft mode switch to fly. It should be set to fly for takeoff, landing, and taxi operations at the ground for passenger loading. So where's this one? Fly. Okay, that's good. And then we're going to have pre-flight observe. Oh, I don't know what that's all saying. What happens if I just press A? There we go. It's starting to spin. It's starting to move. And then it stops. Oh, what's going on here? One stick's doing that. I've got two sticks here. The only thing it's doing though is it's going forwards, which I do not want it to do. What if I pull back? There we go. We're flying. It does have sounds. So it isn't as quiet as they said. And yeah, look at that. If I let go of everything, it just sort of hovers there. What if I press forwards? Forwards it seems to go down. Back it seems to go up, so a bit conventional. Left and right on the rudder. I can yaw it on the left stick. And that's just doing my camera. So how do I... So we've decided that A is probably forwards. So if I hold A... Very unconventional, very different, a bit experimental. Nothing wrong with that. I don't mind having different things around. Not sure if I'm going to spend too much time messing around in this. I have absolutely, again, just like the airship, no idea what I'm doing with it. Because whatever I do now doesn't seem to make a difference. It's just sort of gently hovering forwards. I suppose it's basically a computer. You tell it, well, take me over here please, and take me over there. But there we go. I'm sure there's more to be learnt out of that. Pulling back definitely helps. At least gets me above the buildings. So there you go. Some fun. Could be fun to explore some low level sort of terrain. And I suppose I mustn't complain just because there's new concept aeroplanes, because of course I don't understand what they are. There'll be a whole generation to come after me who only know what these are. So there we go. Moving on. 737 MAX 8 time now. Now this is a pretty exciting one, although actually it's the 737 MAX Boeing business jet. But if we go to passengers, it should be the 737 MAX 8. Livery, do we get a few liveries? Yes, we do. Look, United, Commercial 101, sort of a new world travel airline livery. Oh, maybe let's try out that one. Let's take it for a spin. Now this is made by Asobo and Working Title, who did the avionics, so I'm optimistic about how this will be. Let's take a look. Here it is then, loaded up on the runway, our first look at it. Does it look like a 737 MAX 8? I think it does. We've certainly got those blended sort of split wingtips that they have now on the 737 MAXes. We've got the chevron engine cowling just like you do on the 787. I will compare this regularly to a 787 because, of course, that's its sort of counterpart, its sister ship, using a lot of similar technologies, especially with the avionics and the sort of the noise reduction and so on. Yeah, it's a nice rendition. It's not, I would say, as detailed, of course, on the exterior as the fantastic iFly 737, but there we go. It is certainly a serviceable looking one on the outside. As you get closer to, especially the wheels look nice, and we have angle of attack probes, temperature probes, so yeah, there are things here. The sim is starting to struggle here for the first time since I've been using it, aside from the fact stuff doesn't normally load in at all because of the internet. So I wonder if there's lots of things being loaded in right now around, because I did just load up in London for the first time. But yeah, look at that. Nice. It is, again, a far more accomplished aircraft than any of the default airliners we had when Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 launched. So I am optimistic again. As we jump into the flight deck, things get even better. If we look around, we've got the map working, we have the avionics running in a similar way to how they do on the 787, so something I'll compare it to. And it did load in, fully ready for takeoff. I like that a lot. We have the speeds, 134, rotating at 136, taking off flat 5. Right, so let's get it into the air. I'm going to arm the auto throttle system. I'm going to set my V2 speed of 147. Again, this is an airplane that we're going to see more of on the channel. As I fly the 787, this is going to be a relevant airplane, so I want to see how the avionics compare and how it handles just the general sort of Boeing style of flying, really. Does it feel like a Boeing? Does it give us that difference over the Airbus? I'm just going to bring the heading rug round, something you do have to do on Boeings, unbelievably, but there we go. So 270. Okay, let's go. So we'll release the parking brake. We're going to set the throttles to 40% on the N1, just to give it a bit of chance to stabilize. There we go. Bit of forward pressure. Airplane is moving. That's good. Not sure I like this livery. I think I prefer the old one, but that won't surprise anyone who watches my channel. Airplane's moving. That's good. And it's time to press the toga switches. So I'm going to press T, which I've bound to now drive these forward to toga, which is effectively pushing that little black button there. And then we get toga thrust. So it works. The system works. I like that it loaded up already with the toga settings ready to go. So we've got N1 heading cell toga. I would have expected to say toga, but there we go. Maybe because we don't have any LNAV armed. Trundling along the runway. There is quite a lot of lag going on. I'm going to have to restart the sim after this to see if we can fix that. But yeah, it could just be London. It's improved a little bit. Rotate, positive rate, gear up. And keep rotating the airplane. Don't let the nose sit too low. Taking a bit of trim now. And away we go. Haven't looked at the Heathrow yet. Seems to be missing a few bits. I would suspect this is what I'm struggling with. Again, this is probably the computer trying to download and then put all this stuff into the sim whilst we're here. If only it was just installed, eh? If only. Because now we're in the air, everything's smoothing out, funnily enough. That's a shame because it means flying into airports like Heathrow could be a bit difficult. Got the autopilot command in, we'll put it into heading cell, and we can put it into, let's go into level change, and we'll target at higher speeds. N1. And we'll bug up. Good. Now we're accelerating, we can bring in the flaps. So yeah, does it feel like a Boeing? Well, let's take out the autopilot again. And there we go. This should let us roll all the way over if we want to, because it is a unrestricted airplane in that sense. We are moving the flight controls directly. It does seem to behave as such, which is good news, as you would expect it to be. We can also take full control of the throttles or the throttle off, just like you can on the Airbus. Maneuver it around. Yeah, it's a nice feeling airplane. The flight deck's very nice. Look at this. When you press these switches, The recall panel lights up. This is just a level we didn't have with Flight Simulator 2020. I can't express how happy I am about this. It's just such a shame it's been let down by such a silly thing as having to have it connected online all the time. There's some really, really nice things here. This is yet another aeroplane, thanks to the working title team who really do know what they're doing. They made the Asobo 787 a fantastic machine in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. And they've delivered again here with the 737 MAX 8. This is a perfectly nice machine for you to take around, so you don't need to go to the expense of the iFlight if you don't particularly want to. However, the iFlight is a fantastic add-on. I can't wait for that to arrive in 2024. But there we go, a really nice flight deck. This is a nice aeroplane. This doesn't resemble the state of default airplanes that we had before in 2020. More videos to come on this airplane for sure. This is one of those that we will see again on the channel. Going to take some more time to digest and process. But there we go, a promising start for the 737 MAX 8. So here we are then, the Cessna 400 Corvalis TT. This is an interesting airplane. It resembles so much a Cirrus to me. It seems to share a very similar part of the market. This was originally a different design that Cessna have taken over. It is a really, really sort of sporty style cruising airplane. It looks absolutely lovely. I'm sure this is a real treat to fly. I better jump back into the flight deck to get it wings level again. There we go. Yeah, I think this looks like a lovely machine to fly around. So this is a new one, again included in standard edition of Microsoft Flight Simulator. Going to be good for your long cruising, good for general aviation flying if your internet can load the scenery around you. But yeah, it's one of those sort of modern cockpit interiors. One of the things I noticed is these pedals look incredibly close together. I think that would be relatively uncomfortable for me personally, but that's just a feature of cockpits of this size. But yeah, I think you could have some good fun cruising this one around. A very sporty looking machine, and I do like this livery it came with. Quite slow on the roll, though it does eventually get there. And finally, let's just give it a bit of a stall. So we'll throttle back, nose up, and hold it there. Glass cockpit, so quite a modern feel to it. Sadly, I do prefer the older ones, but that's what the Corvalis would be. It would be a glass cockpit. There's a stall, and there's a quite aggressive nose drop. Keeping the elevator in now. If I kick it into a spin, will it go? No, it's stable enough to avoid that problem. But yeah, it is a nice machine with a pretty lively flight model. I actually think it's quite nice. That was quite a good stall. It felt aggressive. Let's do it in a turn. Heave it through. Yeah, that's the funny thing about turns. They can actually keep the nose down. There's the wing drop. There you go. Yeah, this is nice to see. These default general aviation airplanes aren't floating around like gliders like they were at the launch of 2020. They're actually behaving a little bit like you'd expect, and they do have some sharp edges that you need to be aware of. Very nice. This could be a nice one for people wanting to do a bit of GA. And here we have the CGS Hawk Arrow 2. This is an off-road sort of ultralight aircraft. You can see it's configured with the big tyres. Not all of them are. There are some that come with the thinner sort of normal style. This is going to be for your low and slow flying. This should be an airplane that really excels in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. So I've loaded it up in Friday Harbour, where FSX used to load us. Beautiful, lots of sort of wild, rugged scenery for us to try and go for a flight and see if we can get a landing in. As you get up close, look at the detail. You can see the fabric and the ripples in the fabric. I absolutely love that. Really cool. This is a proper ultralight. Don't mistake it for a Cub or anything like that. This is tiny aeroplane, and you can see there's us with our co-pilot crammed in there in our full pilot outfit. Excellent. Let's take it for a flight. Okay, let's go flying with a bit of rain around. Gonna go full throttle. Now it is quite sensitive, this one, as the tail dragger seems to be a little bit sensitive so far in my experience of 2024. Quite difficult on the ground, so I'm going to try and adjust my settings for that a little bit. Not sure if it's to do with the tail wheel not being locked out or just my normal rudder settings. But let it build up speed. Don't try and put it off the ground too early. It doesn't like it. And then gently climb up, letting it weathercock there. And you'll see it doesn't climb as well as you might imagine. That's 47 knots. And to hold the speed, I can hold it about there. There you go, 49 knots, and we're just gently climbing away. Don't expect it to do anything too dramatic. This isn't a Super Cub or anything like that. This is an ultralight. It's surprising how the performance is, actually. I think that'll catch a few people out expecting it to be a little more sporty and maneuverable than it is. It's also quite nasty if it gets caught in a downdraft or you pull through. It does seem to drop a wing. I'll show you. If I bring the power back, we may just get a little bit more height before I mess around with it, actually. But it does have a tendency, I just pull back here, to really drop down, and if you aren't quick with it, you can have problems with the wing as well. So there we go. But yeah, a nice fun plane. I think you can have some fun with this one. Get it nice and slow. If you bring the power back, drop all the flaps out, you're going to be able to bring this thing right back on the speed. Keep it in the air just below 50 knots, no trouble, which is really quite, gives you a few more options, doesn't it? Maybe get it into some fields or some off-road places. Again though, going to be a challenge to get it out again with the way the takeoff performance works. It is not quite as off-roady as I imagined. But yeah, something different. Nice to see an ultralight again in Microsoft Flight Simulator. It's also not very good in the crosswind, I can tell you that as well. That high wing really wants to lift, and lateral control becomes very, very difficult. So you want to fly this on nice days. You can see here getting really blown around. So I'm actually going to cheat here. And let's just make it the magic of Flight Simulator a lovely day. There we go. Because it's, yeah, the lateral control just becomes a little bit silly. Let's put it down on this tarmac then. Power to idle. There we go. And we're down. Oh, careful not to tip it up too much. Done. Very nice. Cirrus Vision Jet time, and if I could show you it, we would see what the different liveries look like. Oh, there we go. They have finally loaded. I quite like the blue one, but I think we'll go with the classic red. You can also change the interior, whether you want the family style layout or whatever. So if you were curious about buying one, you might want to try it out in Microsoft Flight Simulator and see exactly which sort of cabin works for you. Let's get it into the air. Here it is, a really cool looking little aeroplane. I absolutely love it. When I was younger, I used to draw aircraft and sort of concept airplanes that I quite like the idea of, and I used to draw, it was a fighter jet, but it did look similar to this with the engine mounted above and behind like that, and then a sort of a V tail. So I really like that design. It's really cool to see it. This airplane was originally just for private use. It's like a step-up airplane for people who've flown Cirrus SR-22s and similar, and then they would potentially go and buy themselves one of these if you are lucky enough to have that much money lying around. Sadly, that's not the case for me, so this is the closest I'm ever going to get. It's, what's it complaining about? Fuel quantity mismatch, cabin QFE not set. So there you go. It's got some proper warnings, you see. The airplane does have systems underneath. Big thing in Microsoft Flight Simulator, the systems are meant to be, you know, more there on more of these airplanes. Look at that, oxygen, parking brake. Does that work? Yeah, on, off, you can see it. Cabin door closed. Giving us some takeoff distance as well. Approximate values refer to the flight manual. Anyway, we're not going to spend too much time worrying about that. What I am going to do is get the airplane going. So let's get in the air. Let's try it out. Take off emergency battery, yeah. So it's good to see these systems running in the background. There is an autopilot down here as well. But let's just get it into the air, see how it actually feels and flies. Like I say, lots of these airplanes we're going to look at in more detail on the channel once we get some time with them. Look at that, it wants to rotate on its own. This airplane has approach speeds similar to the SR-22 or slower. Oh, Gibraltar hasn't closed its road for our takeoff, so good job we did get in the air that quickly. Yeah, so it's not actually all that quick on takeoff and landing. It is designed to be slower and able to fly at sort of sensible speeds for people. Where is the throttle? Down there. Yeah, there we go. Right. Bit of forward trim. Nice. Bringing the flaps. Your dampers engaged automatically. Getting buffeted around a bit, which you'd expect as you leave Gibraltar from those from the rock. Nice. I'm actually surprised how slow it is. We are not climbing away. I expected this to be a bit of a rocket. If we go full power again, got the flaps up. 150 knots. There we go. Let's get it going. I imagine this airplane, it does go high. It goes up into the 20,000s of feet. It's still in production, this airplane, but yeah, how high does it expect to go? Let's have a look. Yeah, up to 30,000 feet. So it can go up to 30,000 feet or just over. So it's yeah, high performance airplane. I just imagine you need to give it a bit of time. It is not a fighter jet. That's the one thing I'm figuring out here. Could be that we're loaded up quite heavily as well. But there we go. Beautiful little aeroplane. Absolutely love the look of it. I mean, I could see myself having some fun flying this around. And again, you've got that full suite of avionics in there. So this is a legitimate airplane with those systems working and those warnings and cautions working. So I am impressed with it. I think this could be an interesting choice. It's an interesting little jet. Looks like a little remote controlled airplane with that big antenna on its back. Also one of the first airplanes, consumer airplanes, that's all composite. Quite a clean exterior model, not the most detailed exterior model we've seen out of all the airplanes so far. It does look a little bit like the 2020 airplanes did. It's got that sort of feel to it. Not necessarily a problem if you like your airplane shiny and new, but I do prefer them with a little bit of grime like we've seen with some of those airliners. Wonder how it stalls. Powering back. Yeah, so we're getting the performance out of it now, up through 5,000 feet already. Okay, let's hold it there. Maybe about 20 degrees will be enough. Aha! Now that's interesting. It's upset about the speed and it's applying the thrust, and it's showing us there the thrust being applied. Because I did power off. So let's power off again. Let's try that again. Now this is going to be because this is a modern airplane with some protections in it. But again, to see that modelled and not just be missing, you know, that is impressive. Again, for a default airplane, this is turning out to be one amazing, amazing collection of airplanes to have. Power back. What happens? There it goes. Look, automatically. It is not letting me pull through and stall the airplane. It is taking it out of my hands and adding the power we need. Yeah. Very interesting. Very interesting to see that this is modelled as well. Impressive. Impressive stuff. The turbulence is strong. I am not entirely convinced about turbulence in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. Every airplane I fly at the moment is a bit twitching around. Let's try it out for a landing. Why not? 2 white threads. All getting a little bit low, a little bit slow. I'm just judging it. You have a little angle of attack indicator down here, so we'll keep that not in the red, ideally. Wow, down to 100 knots, and it still feels pretty sensible. It doesn't feel like we're at an extreme angle. I wouldn't go much slower than that, though. Yeah. I think you'll be able to get this in quite a lot of airports. Right, back to idle. A little bit of drift off. Bit of lag there. Please move out the way, car. There's touchdown. And another car and a lorry. So we won't look at that. Over the runway we go. Excellent. Get on those brakes. Yeah, very nice. This is a nice little plane. Nice handling thing. And to have those warnings and protections built in, feels like a pretty serious model. Now this is an exciting one. This is, of course, the de Havilland Canadair, so the Viking Air CL415. Excited to try this. We'll take it out in its classic livery for a flight and see if we can get it over some water. Try and pick up some water with it. Here we are then in the CL415, the Canadair. Now this is an awesome airplane and I had high hopes for it. This is the cover art for Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024, so they had to do a good job with it, I think, really, as it was so heavily promoted, and I'm going to say right now they have. This is really cool. You can do all the things you'd expect to be able to do in the Canadair, and it does work in the simulator. So we're here over Bracciano Lake, just north of Rome, where these aircraft do actually pick up some water. And we're going to have a go ourselves. Now, it's not easy to pick up water, but as a bit of a treat for today's video, we're going to make sure we get it done. And really helpfully, again, this is a testament to the fact that they've done this airplane properly, thankfully. It is actually included in the checklist. So if we scroll in, which is a bit slow, I can go to, forget the pre-flight, we are already in flight, thank you. We'll do normal water pickup. So we need to put the water drop control display selector to ACWT. It's on normal, so we'll put it to ACWT there. Then we go to the flaps. We're going to set flap 15. We'll do that in a moment. Then we put the door selector to salvo. So door selector is in salvo. Then we put the drop control master to standby. Drop control master is in standby. That's because we're not actually dropping the water. We just want to pick it up first from this lake. Our tanks are currently empty. We put the ignition on. It's on both sides. This is so that the engines don't flame out while we're doing it. Then we put the autofeather annunciator. We need to have autofeather ready to go. That's in case we have an engine failure whilst doing the water drop. It's like doing a takeoff and landing. So if there is an engine failure, we want it to feather that propeller automatically. That's very important. Probes now, we're going to put the probes down. So let's lower the probes. They're in manual, so I just click this one to lower them. The probes are where the water actually enters the airplane. They're these little scoops that appear. I can't stand the camera's angle. There we go. These little scoops here, this is where the water goes into the tanks. They're only tiny, but they drop down when you press that button. So now we have those probes ready to collect the water. Just keep cruising around the lake while we set up. So So that's good. There is an auto setting. I'm not quite sure what that does. Might try that one day. And that's it now. Probes are down. So we go flat 15, touchdown on the water, and then set the power levers for takeoff while we drag it through the water, and then wait till it's full. Then we'll rotate at around about 72 knots, climb weight at 100. Something you'll notice, this airplane feels pretty powerful, and it is. It's a powerful machine, but don't think of it like an aerobatic airplane. It has a lot of drag. It's more needed to carry that weight around. That is a huge amount of weight to pick up. Airplanes are very different, obviously, full of fuel and empty. So it's going to take us a while to climb out. So don't make the mistake of just seeing a tiny stretch of water in one of these and thinking you're going to get away with it. You probably won't. It does need a bit of care, and that's what we're going to see today. So I'm going to start my run by spinning round and doing a 180, and then we'll run across the lake this way. So round we go. Now this is where, this is the cover-up. We are now living the dream of, I want to get rid of the highlighter. I don't quite know how to do that. Pick something lower down. There you go. It's going to highlight the airspeed indicator for me. Why not? So let's start slowing down. Trimming those up. And we'll get the flaps out. So power to idle. That will do there. Here the props coming up. We'll go for 15 degrees. So that's 2 stages of flaps. There we go. And you'll see on these indicators over here, you'll see the water entering the tanks. You'll see the tank levels go up. So let's get the airplane nice and stable, as if we were flying an approach here. Slowing it down. Tricky. This is tricky, especially on a glass surface sort of lake. Okay, going to get a bit of power on as we fly, sort of hopefully roughly level along the lake is the idea. Nice and gently. There you go, a bit of spray as we get low down. I love that. Absolutely love that. Scoops are out. Come on, down we go. And there's touchdown. Get the power on. Holding it just on top. We don't want it to sort of settle in. We want to keep it on the plane, as it were. And you can see over here, the tanks have now increased to green. Oh, this is a bit rough. This is not how you're supposed to do it. We might have a bit of a tailwind here. So they're now full. So we're going full power. We should have done that as soon as we touched down, really. It might have stabilized things. So bouncing along. And now we can get the airplane up nice and gently. 70 odd knots breakaway. We're in the air. And now we don't want to raise the nose too fast. Climbing away at just over 100 knots. And here you go. We're now full power. And I'm having to completely retrim the airplane. It's changed weight. It's so heavy now. Accelerating like this is not an easy thing to do. Okay, climbing away. Let's bring the probes up. So those little doors now fold away. Lots of drag, lots of weight here, so you've got to be very sensitive. This is a dangerous thing to be doing. Make no mistake. This is not an easy bit of flying. And there we go. Now we've got it over 100 knots. We can start to climb the airplane away. Yeah, it's heavy. Now, if you find yourself running out of performance, you might need to get rid of all that water, which we can do pretty straightforward. I simply have to put the master control to armed, and now we can dump the water by pressing the water release. So if I press that, there it goes. Look at that. Awesome. And now immediately the airplane responds in performance, and up it goes, completely out of trim, out of balance. So exciting. Lots of fun to be had, I think, with this airplane. It's really something I'm looking forward to with the missions, to try out how it's going to behave and what we can use it for. But the fact that they've modeled the process for gaining and dumping water, really exciting. I think there could be some good fun to be had here. Twin Otter time now. I love this airplane, the Havilland Canada DHC 6300. You get this one in several variants, actually. You can configure it to be in wheels, as we're going to use today. We've got floats and skis. Floats used in the Maldives, of course. Wheels we're going to use to fly it into Barras Beach, the classic Twin Otter destination for those of us in the UK anyway. So we're going to set that as departure. Let's take it for a flight. So here it is then, the Twin Otter. A slight glitch I'm getting on those propellers. The propellers look very good in this game otherwise. Also, you can see the sort of jet blast or the prop wash coming out the back. Now that's a little unrealistic. The propellers aren't at any sort of high power setting at the moment, I don't think. Anyway, let me just check that. No. So I would expect them to be sitting not really producing much thrust, otherwise it'd be a bit of a waste. but there we go. So what we'll do is we will take it for a flight off the sand, give it a go. We've got a bit of flap out. I do like this model. They've done a really nice job on it. If you look around the outside, look at that. All the little details and rivets. It looks like a rugged off-road airplane, this. I like it. I like it a lot. Really, really nice model. And it sounds nice as well. Oh, there we go. The propellers are working again. Something was glitching just about them earlier. Right, let's get in the air. Throttling up. Parking brake off. Lots of blast, and I love that. Tracks being made in the sand. How cool is that? I haven't seen that before. Not in any flight simulator. That's really neat. Really cool. Now this airplane won't take much airspeed to get it up and going. There we go. And rocketing away. No trouble at all. No landing gear to raise, but no trouble. It looks like our propeller is windmilling according to that shadow, but there we go. Nice. Sounds nice, this airplane. I think this is going to be a great one for people to enjoy cruising around in some pretty exciting places, taking it off road, and then I want to take it to the Maldives, fly it around in the float plane around the tropical Maldives. I think that'd be great fun as well. So of course we've got to land it back on that beach, so we'll bring it round, see if we can land in diagonally. Should be good fun. Yeah, nice sounds. Again, like all the other default airplanes we've seen so far, there's more to these than you'd think, and certainly more than we had at the start of Flight Simulator 2020. We've just got some more systems. You know, there's bleed air messages, there's stall warners. These are good airplanes, and it's such a shame that so far our sim experience continues to be hindered by the way Microsoft Flight Simulator is setting up the streaming. It is a nuisance to try and get into different airplanes and try them out. But here we go. Let's bring the Twin Otter around then. Last one of this video, and then we'll be back for the next set of airplanes as we get through every new airplane in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. Right, bringing it down a little bit steep here. Water looks lovely out there. You can hear the systems in the background though, all a good sign that this airplane is more complete than you might have feared. So I'm very happy with that. Red out working away onto the sands. There's touchdown. Throttle's back. Won't even need the brakes. Although there's reverse thrust. Look at that. Going to come to a screeching halt. The only thing that is bothering me slightly, reverse thrust still produces jet wash behind the airplane, when of course it should produce it in front. So that's something I'd like to see fixed. But still, these are minor bugs and glitches, you know, compared to what we could have seen and what we saw with 2020. And look at the way the wheels bounce around, bit of suspension as they just flex over the rough grounds. Oh, it's super. Really nice. Still a little bit too grippy, I think, on that nose gear. Look at that. It does draw a nice track through the sand, though. This shows you that they've really put a bit of focus into the off-road stuff. These tyre marks don't quite line up, but again, hard to get too upset about that. The fact that there's marks at all and that it lines up with the nose gear, very nice. So that's all for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. We have all of the other airplanes still to come. So this is just the first part. We're about a third of the way through the new airplanes in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. This was the first set of the ones included in the base edition. We've got the next set of base edition airplanes, and then we've got the deluxe and premium deluxe airplanes to look forward to. Some of the ones coming up in the next video, so do please subscribe for those, is the Draco X, a really cool off-road airplane. We've got the air crane, so we're looking at some more helicopters and fighter jets with the A10. We've got a gyrocopter and, of course, PC-12, the hot air balloon. Lots of exciting new things to go. And we're also going to look at some parachuting and aerobatic stuff, so that'll be good fun. Later on, we'll have the Albatross, the big Boeings, the C-17, 747, and the Saab. So these are some exciting new airplanes to come as well. So thank you so much for watching. Hopefully see you in those next videos. Speak to you soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.